The writer of Ecclesiastes reminds us that if we love money, we'll never be satisfied. There will never be enough, as Cornelius Vanderbilt said so long ago when asked how much was enough. And Jesus brings us home, reminding us that when we focus in the wrong place, we exchange profit for life. What will you give, Jesus asks, in return for your life? Those of you who have read the study book that we're using for the Enough series have probably already read this story, but let me share it with everyone. This is one of those truth is stranger than fiction stories. Several years ago, the Royal Bank of Scotland sent an offer for a gold MasterCard. That happens often enough. We get credit card offers. There was a gold MasterCard that was offered to Monty Slater. The card came with a $20,000 credit limit. And that's pretty good for somebody who was getting a first credit card, don't you think? A $20,000 credit limit. Especially when you consider that Monty Slater is a dog. I don't mean, that's not descriptive of a person, really a dog, a real dog, a Shih Tzu to be more precise, that's the kind of a dog. Raymond, Monty's owner, thought about using the card to pay for some of Monty's favorite treats since it had been offered, but he reconsidered, thinking that Monty was not in a position to pay back the balance when it came due, and that it might negatively affect Monty's credit rating in the future, and so he decided not to do that. This might be really funny if it wasn't true. It actually happened. And if it didn't illustrate a sobering truth, that we live in a world that encourages us, all of us, to live beyond our means. We are regularly bombarded with ways to have it now and pay for it later. Good stewardship, as Christians understand it, which involves healthy doses of saving and sharing, is unknown to many and is seen as quaint, old-fashioned, and hopelessly out of touch to others. Save up so you can pay for something? That's just silly, isn't it? We've all been there, or most of us anyway. We want the latest gadgets. We want the things with the most features. I'll tell on myself. Several years back, I wanted to get a new sewing machine. When I was in college, I had made a lot of my dresses for dances, as well as many other things. And in the intervening years, I had developed a fascination for quilting. I like useful arts, I like pottery and quilts and things like that, and I wanted to quilt. I owned a sewing machine. It was a hand-me-down black Singer in a little carrying case. It had been given by my grandmother to my mother and by my mother to me, and I still had that sewing machine. It's the one that I used in college. It worked. It went forward and backward, but nothing fancy, and it was really old. It was officially designated an antique. Dick agreed that I could have a new sewing machine that wasn't antique, and we began looking for one for my birthday that year. I had never looked for a sewing machine before. Remember, I was a third-generation owner of a little black Singer sewing machine. I had no idea how many neat things there are on sewing machines, things that had been added since Mimi had bought the old black Singer. It was overwhelming. I had bobbins in my eyes, all the things to look at, all the things that could be on a sewing machine, all the things that it could do almost by just looking at it. It seemed really cool. Egged on by a couple of accomplished sewers in the congregation, I settled on what I wanted, and Dick said, okay, that sounds like a good birthday present. I now have a beautiful Bernina sewing machine, and you can usually find it collecting dust in a corner in my basement. I've made a few things, a couple of Halloween costumes, some pillow covers, a few other things, but I've never made a quilt. And truth be told, I don't know what to do with an awful lot of those fancy little features that this sewing machine has. And most of what I've done could probably have been done just as well on what my antique little black Singer sewing machine. But I just had to have a new machine. Anybody ever been there? I won't ask. A fancy one. I know that I'm not alone. I bet most of you could tell a story like that. We are a country full of people who trade cars only a few years old and run just fine, who look into closets loaded with clothes and complain that we just have nothing to wear,